one is a win. You do it one time, it's a win. Don't set these unrealistic things that you're going to do because you're not going to.
Welcome to the Dynamis Podcast, where we are all about unlocking a fruitful life, removing your limiting beliefs, and getting to the next level. My name is Tim Garul, and I'm stoked to grow on this journey with you. As David Geffen says, we are each the figment of our own imagination, and some people have the greater ability to imagine than others. Welcome into this week's episode of the Dynamis Podcast. We have a heavy hitter in the studio this week, folks. We have a gentleman by the name of Aaron West. I'm going to read his bio really quickly, but before I get into his bio, here's what you're going to get out of this episode, okay? You're going to get punched right in the mouth. You're probably going to bleed out of your nose a little bit because he's going to be very blunt, very direct, and he's going to tell you and me all of the things that we are doing wrong involving goal setting. Everybody says that they're setting goals, but in reality, they are not. They're just talking about loose ideas of things that they would like to happen in their life, but there's really no structure about why or how they're going to get there. And full disclosure, this is an episode that I have been terrified to do. I knew I needed to bring Aaron in here to give you guys this value and really to walk away with something for myself. But I'll be honest with you. I know Aaron from GoBundance. I've watched him sit up on stage at events and absolutely rip people apart, like destroy their goals and their one sheets. And it's nerve-wracking. And I will tell you very authentically, I'm scared for this episode today. I'm scared to have Aaron in here. But as they say, you know, what you're scared of, what you're fearful of, you should run towards, because on the other side of that, as you peek your heads through the clouds, you realize like, okay, I needed to be shown where I'm falling short so that I can amend this and really start to take action in my life. So I'm going to introduce Aaron in just one second, but really quickly, I'm going to read his bio just so you guys have a loose introduction, and I'll let the man take it from here. Aaron West is a renowned national trainer, keynote speaker, and successful real estate investor with an inspiring story of overcoming poverty and building wealth. Born as the oldest of 6 kids, Aaron grew up in a financially struggling household where he learned the importance of hard work and determination through his struggles. Aaron developed this strong mindset of building wealth and having a good relationship with money. He turned his passion for real estate investing into a successful career, creating a diverse portfolio of single-family, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, multifamily, and commercial properties, along with his impressive real estate career. Aaron also co-hosts the 7 to 8 show. This is a show in GoBundance getting from 7 figures to 8 figures. It's an incredible show. I watch it all the time, and that's a whole other podcast episode I'd love to bring you back on for. This is where he interviews successful entrepreneurs and business people about their journey from 1 million net worth to 10 million. And then through this show, Aaron aims to inspire and educate others on how to build wealth and achieve success in business. Aaron's inspiring story and successful career have made him a sought-after national trainer and keynote speaker. He shares his wealth-building strategies and financial mindset with audiences across the country, empowering them to take control of their life and their finances and achieve their dreams. Aaron, holy moly, welcome to the Dynamis Podcast.
Thank you so much. Everybody's life is interesting when you condense it into 2 paragraphs. It's always kind of humbling to hear that because there's so much work behind all the scenes of all of those things. And
absolutely,
you know, behind every successful person is 10 years of really hard work that nobody really sees. So thank you very much for having me on the show. I am truly excited to share and to talk about, you know, one of my passions and one of, you know, I believe one of my areas of mastery, and share it with you and the other listeners.
Well, I'm stoked to have you here. And as I said, my blood pressure is a little elevated just because I know what you're capable of. And before we jump in, you know, I want this to be a really tactical episode. Sometimes we get a little metaphysical about mindset and, you know, just how to create a atmosphere around yourself that breeds success. Today's going to be really tactical. We're getting in the boxing ring and we're sparring. And so get prepared to look at vulnerabilities and holes that you have in your strategy, in your toolbox right now. Real quick backstory of how I encountered Aaron for the first time. When I first joined GoBundance, when I knew nothing about GoBundance, I paid my dues for the first time. They said, hey, you got to go to an event. Being in GoBundance is all about being in proximity. I highly encourage you to go to an event. So I paid my dues, joined GoBundance, and signed up for the first available event that came across my desk. And wouldn't you know it, that was a Dallas event couple years ago. So I'm sitting at this Dallas event and no idea what to expect. And I hear all the go bros like, hey, in the morning, like we should go sit in the sauna and go out into the pool. It was ice cold outside. It was the middle of winter. So we were going sauna to pool. And who was sitting next to me but Aaron West? And I thought, wow, this guy is really just so nice. He's just this nice human who cares about my story, who cares about other people. I was listening into your conversations and you were just so charismatic and kind. And we were going back and forth into the lazy river that was freezing cold. And you were telling me about your teenage son and all of his friends going into your homemade ice bath. And I was like, wow, Aaron, he's just a really nice guy. I want to be friends with that guy. We walked our happy butts back into the event. I sat down in my chair and they're like, all right, we're going to do 1 sheets and 7 to 8 series. And, the speaker came up onto the stage and here comes Aaron. He's going to, interview. And I'm like, my stepdad was with me. I'm like, I know that guy. We sat in the pool together. I was like, Aaron, he's really nice. And you destroyed this human being on stage, like verbally destroyed them.
With love. Now you got to throw that part in. It was with love,
Yes.
It's one of the gifts that comes from being able to write goals really well is perspective, because you have to go layer as you build out your goals. And when I sit down with someone and they share their goals with me, I'm not doing them a service by being nice and just saying that's a really nice goal, because one of the things that I found is clarity in your goals allows you to achieve so much more. And for most people, they really don't have any clarity in their goals. When I sit down with someone and they go over their 1 sheet, it's like a baseball card for your life. It has your net worth, all your goals, and all the different areas of your life. My job is to make sure that the holes that they don't see are pointed out to them so that they can lead a bigger and better life. And yeah, I do have a little bit of a reputation as being merciless isn't the right word, but I will call you out and make sure that what you say you're going to do, your goals reflect what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good point to highlight is, if you were agnostic, if you were indifferent, then you wouldn't care. You wouldn't tear people apart. You wouldn't dig in. But at the root of it all, I mean, I think, I don't really curse on this podcast, but I think, there could be a generalization made that, Aaron's kind of an asshole. But when you get to know you at a little deeper level, you realize is like, you're not an asshole. You want the absolute best for these people's lives. Like you see the potential in these humans and you're going to rip it out of them, whether they want to bring it out on their own or not. And that is an act of love. That is an act of love, especially in these communities where we are, expected to be vulnerable because we're all there for self-improvement. So long story short is, I was like, wow, he's like a mama grizzly bear, like very kind and cuddly. And then he'll just like slash her. Totally. Like, whoa. So, okay. All right. So you are a goal setting expert, I would call you. Not that, you're renowned worldwide for goal setting, but, you are known in our community for the expert in setting goals. And in your experience, you tear into a lot of people in this arena. Where are people falling short? What is the biggest problem with goal setting when you dig into these individuals?
So there's a number of things. I think one of them is just the time that they spend goal setting. Have you woken up at 2:00 in the morning and said, oh, I forgot to do this, or I need to call that person? I think all of us probably have.
Yep.
Your brain is always on. There's 2 parts of your brain. There's your non-conscious mind, which is the super highway. And then there's your conscious mind, which is like a snail. And what people don't understand is if you write goals really intentionally that go into your non-conscious mind, so much more happens because it's always working for you. I figured this out for one of the last events that I had, and it was how many hours there are in a year. There's 8,760 hours in a year. If you spent 8 hours writing your goals, it's 0.0007% of the year. Are you really spending time to tell your brain what's important? So when you do spend that time, you have to be really intentional about it. So that's the first thing, is just not putting the weight and time and effort into writing your goals so that your brain can actually go to work for you and start helping you achieve those goals. I think the second thing is that they write the wrong kinds of goals, and they don't even realize it. Everybody uses the acronym SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, with a time frame attached to it. And they'll write a goal like run a marathon or be a better husband, not understanding that although that technically falls under the SMART acronym, that's the result that they're trying to achieve. The goals are the actual activities that by doing those things, you achieve the result that you want to achieve. So to be a better husband, for an example, because that's something that's really important to a lot of the guys in GoBundance, is that they lead really big lives and they're not just focused on business and themselves. And that's something, a better husband, better father is a goal that I see all of the time. But what is that? So let's just, Tim, you and I, let's talk about this. You write down your goal to be a better husband, which is a noble goal, right? How do you know that you're going to be a better husband?
Yeah, I think so. Some of this feels a little bit like cheating because I consume all of your content. I'm just going to warn you on that.
That's okay.
So I consume your content. A couple things pop into my mind right away. Number one is I need to make measurable KPIs that I can track annually as an end result, but also, more on the micro level quarterly. And then the tangible result is like, am I achieving what I want through like the behaviors and actions of the people that are impacted by my goal? So is my wife responding in a positive way to like my goal setting, right? Like, are my actions becoming fruitful in my wife's behavior? And number two is like, okay, for those KPIs, maybe that's, hey, every Friday night I'm setting aside 1 hour, me and my wife only. I'm going to listen for 15 minutes of that. I'm going to give her a back rub and I can measure it or something like that. That's what pops into my brain.
I'm just going to ask again, what do you need to do to be a better husband right now? What do you need to do to be a better husband? Give me one thing.
Okay. I need to give my wife the time that she always asks me for.
Okay.
Each week,
let's
right?
Stop right there, because that's a goal. How much time? What does that look like?
So the first thing that pops in my head is, she wants like a cutoff time at the end of the day to where no more phone calls, no more texts, no more work, no more conversations about work. Me present with her at the end of the day at a specific time.
And what time is that?
4:30.
4:30.
Which is hard.
Okay. So 4:30 is the cutoff time. How many days a week are you willing to do that to show her that you are wanting to be a better husband?
I mean, I'm willing to do that. Ultimately, that's one of the most important things in my life. So I would say 5 days a week.
How many days are you doing it now?
Right now, 4 to 5 days a week, but only because I gamified it. Like I put a piece of software in my phone that like locks my phone out from me being able to access it at that time,
So then let's just continue and pretend you haven't done that. So 5 days a week, you're committing to do that. So one of the mistakes that people make when they're writing their yearly goals is they say, turn off the phone at 4:30, 5 days a week. And they've already failed that.
Okay.
Because they're writing a weekly goal instead of a yearly goal. So the very first week that they don't do it 5 days, they've failed their yearly goal. So if you want to do something 5 days a week, it's 260 times. So when you write your yearly goals, it's turn my phone off at 4:30 p.m. 260 times. And what you've done is you've now given yourself some grace, where there may be weeks that you do it 7 days a week, and then there may be weeks that you do it 2 or 3 days a week, but your goal is now a yearly goal of 260 times. Now you can go, okay, what is quarterly? What is weekly? And you can break that down. But when you write your yearly goals, it's another one I hear all of the time is for people who have a religious belief, read the Bible daily or, read scripture daily. But the reality is that we're human and that's not possible. So it's like, okay, can you do it 5 days a week, which again is 260 times or even 300 times. So read the Bible 300 times through the year. Now you've given yourself some grace because your brain has its own BS meter. When you write a goal and it's not realistic and it's not realistic for you to do it every single week, your intentions are there, but your brain knows that the intentions aren't going to make it happen. And so it just shuts the goal off. Now, if you set a goal that's a yearly goal and you have a realistic number like 300 workouts or 150 meditations or whatever that looks like, your brain always knows that you can achieve that because you can double up workouts. You can do 2 meditations a day, but you want to give yourself grace and then a number that's achievable for the year. And I think those are a couple of the biggest mistakes people make, is they don't spend the time, and then they also write weekly and monthly and daily goals as yearly goals instead of putting the numbers down for what you want to accomplish for the year and then backing into it.
Where would you differentiate like lifestyle versus goal setting? And what I mean is, you mentioned the Bible. Well, my general goal is to wake up and read the Bible every day. It's the first thing before I start my day. I'm going to get my head right, spend some time with God. I'm going to read the Bible. But, there's instances where like maybe I'm traveling for work and I don't want to take my Bible with me and I'm gone for 5 days. It doesn't like throw me off of my routine. As soon as I'm home, I get a full night's rest. I'm back in my routine. I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is grab my Bible. It doesn't like derail me from reading the Bible because it's part of my lifestyle. It's like a daily habit. Same thing with working out, right? Like I'm going to work out every day if I'm home. If I'm traveling, hey, I'm going to do what I can do in the hotel room, but ultimately like it doesn't completely stop me from that momentum. And I guess my question to you is where's that like delineation of lifestyle versus goal? And then is there a difference? Like, do people need the goal versus just like an identity of like, this is what I do? Well,
I think there's a place for both of them really, but what you focus on expands. What you track, you can improve. When someone says they want to lose weight and they're just like, I feel like I'm doing everything right and I don't understand why the weight's not coming off, because they're not putting things into place to track exactly what they're going to do. I track everything. I track how often I work out, how often I get in the sauna, how often I get in the cold plunge, how often I meditate, how often I brush my teeth. I have a daily tracker that's got 15 things on it that I track every single day. I can tell you exactly how many times I did those things last year. When I'm setting my goals for this year, I now have a realistic number to try and improve on because
that's
I
a great point.
Those things.
That's a great point.
And that's the value of being intentional about setting those number goals and then tracking them. If you say you're going to do this with your wife, just going back to your goal that you set of 5 days a week, and you only did it 120 times last year, it may feel like you did it a bunch. But when you look at it and say, man, I only did it 120 times, did that move the needle the way that I wanted to? If the answer is no, now you can set another goal the following year that says I want to do it 180 or 200. And I know that by doing these things, I will be a better husband for my wife.
Yeah. And as like the coaches would say, if you're tracking this data, if you didn't do it and you say it's important to you based on results, it must not be that important to you because you have no data, no measurables. Okay. So what about things like inaction, confusion from inaction in regards to, what if you didn't know how to be a better husband? Or let's shift topics. Let's say, I want to increase my passive income by $10,000 in the next, 3 years. Okay, outstanding. That's my goal. What if we have?
I disagree. That's the result you're trying to achieve in the next 3 years. That's the result you're trying to achieve. That's the goal is, okay, what are the things and what do you need to do to improve the things that you do that will equal you having $10,000 in passive income? What are the activities that you can do that the opportunities are going to come from the activities?
Yeah. So I guess, and this is where it gets a little confusing, is it's like picking the lane of like, what thing do you want? Or I guess let's back up before we get down this road. What about people who like know that they want, let's say passive income? We'll stay on that topic. We can shift. We can do this with health. We can do this with, relationships. Let's stay on passive income. We have a lot of investors and entrepreneurs that listen to this show. So passive income, I hear this all the time. Like, oh, I want passive income. I want financial freedom. I don't know what to do now. There's 5 billion things I could do. I could invest passively in syndications. I could go wholesale or flip or, I guess what about before we even set the measurables, the micro measurables, how do we even identify a lane of,
you set a goal I'm going to look at 15 different options for me to find the one that I'm going to go, which lane I'm going to go in. So
I see.
I want to I want to have $10,000 in passive income, and I'm hearing about flipping. I'm hearing about wholesaling. I'm hearing about retail, residential. I'm hearing about commercial. I'm hearing about all these different things. I don't know anything about all of them. So your first goal is, what can I do to help me make a decision? What am I committing to? I'm going to research each one of these areas for 4 hours, let's say, or I'm going to buy a course or get a course on each one of these things. And that's the first step of your goal. Then once you get what your lane is that you want to go down, now it's like, what are the activities? Let's just say it's flipping. So I want to flip 5 houses. You hear that's a goal that would be a pretty common goal. Like that's the result you're trying to achieve. What are the activities? How many people are you going to talk to about flipping houses? How many houses are you going to go look at? How many offers are you going to write? The things that you can control are the things that you have to track and make accountable so that you can go, okay, because if you do those results, you may flip 10 houses. If you say, these are the commitments that I'm going to make, these are the goals. Every day from 3 to 4 p.m., I'm going to make 15 calls. So 15 calls a day is 150. That's 450 calls a month. You multiply that by 12. That's your yearly goal of how many calls you are going to make to flip 6 houses. And then you track that. And if after a quarter or 6 months, you've made that many calls and you haven't gotten the results, you now can say, okay, maybe I need to do more than 450 calls a month. Maybe I need to do 600 calls a month. And you adjust your goal so that you get the result that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, you're making this embarrassingly simple. I think a lot of people get frozen in inaction because there's maybe too many options. They don't know what to do. So what do? They end up doing nothing. And you're like, well, just goal set, finding a solution. Hello, idiot. Like spend 15 minutes.
Yeah, you just actually go, what is the result? What are the things that I need to do? And you just write down those things and you say, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And you just keep asking yourself this question. Now, with what you just said, we all have different skill sets when it comes to goal writing. There are different work styles. And what those 3 are create, execute, and finalize. All of us have kind of a natural gift in one of those areas or 2 of those areas. Mine is create, execute. So I can come up with the goals, I can come up with the ideas, I can get them on paper. My challenge is finishing everything. So that's the muscle that I have a challenge with is that part. And I have to be really intentional about even taking my goals that I've written for the year and transferring them to the one sheet. That's actually really hard for me to do because finalize is a challenge of mine. Other people are execute, finalize, or just finalize. So depending on what your work style is, and for most of us, we can sit there and go, you know what? I hate coming up with ideas, but if you give me an idea, I will refine that sucker and make it beautiful. Now, what you need to do is find someone who can hold you capable or that can help you with the muscle that you're not used to using. So if you're an execute, finalize, you want to surround yourself with other people who are writing goals, and you're just going to take their ideas and you're going to say, oh, that's a great idea. And that's a goal that I think that I can do. And then you start refining that and you do that execute, finalize part of it. And being aware of that, again, I'm all about giving grace when it comes to, writing goals, because you find out where your strengths are and then you find other people to complement where you're weak, because most of the time where you're strong, they're weak.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to ask you about is, before we expanded on this idea is, let's say that you're a person that's literally sitting with no idea of what you even want, and you just answered that question of go just put yourself in proximity of other people setting goals and see which ones could apply to your life. Like which ones, if you took action on, would benefit you, tangible results of improvement in your life. So you just answered the very next question I was going to have for you anyways. So, okay. A couple easier questions and then we'll work gradually more difficult. So how are you tracking these goals? You said you mentioned that you're tracking everything.
I have a Remarkable. It's like a tablet it's an iPad that doesn't have any connectivity at all, basically. And I have a PDF that just says daily accountability goals, and it has 14 lines on it and every day of the month. So every single morning, I have a habit stack of what I do every morning to accomplish as many of those things as possible. But part of that is before I'm able to take a sip of my coffee, I have to open up my Remarkable and start my journaling and track what I did the day before for my habits. Now, some people, my wife likes to do all her goals at night because she's execute, finalize, and the end of the day is finalized. So that's when she tracks everything. I'm create, so it's the morning that I come through and and track everything. But it literally is, it could be a piece of paper. You can find them online everywhere. Actually, I can probably send it to you. And if people want to reach out to you, they can, you can send it to them. I'm happy to share that with you.
The one I almost bought a Remarkable, and this is a side story, and we'll probably get down a short rabbit hole. What drove me nuts is the interface of it, is that those PDFs, if you upload it to like a cloud, I want to access it maybe from like my phone if I don't have my Remarkable with me or something like that. Now upload it to the cloud, and then I want it back on my Remarkable. It's like a copy of the PDF, and that drove me insane. Like the functionality of that. They need like to update the software. So if Remarkable is listening on the next version, it needs to like sync seamlessly with the cloud so you can like input it like a Google Doc. Anyways, moving on. Okay. How many goals should a person reasonably have? Like when we're looking at goal setting and categories, obviously it's really easy to come out of an event and just be like, rah, rah. Oh yeah, I'm on fire. Let's freaking do this. But when you were talking about, your unconscious mind knows if you're full of crap or not. Okay. It knows if you're going to execute, and it knows that based off of a stack of evidence of what's your past performance, what's your past history. Do you do the things that you say you're going to do? And so how do we know, first of all, how many goals should we be executing on or trying to take on when we're first goal setting? And what categories should we be prioritizing? I know this is kind of like an open-ended, very generic, weird kind of gray question.
It's a great question, I think. This is how I do it. When I do my yearly goals, I have 8 gardens in my life. It's, financial, it's physical, it's, spiritual and contribution. It is, family and friends. It's my tribe, all of those things. When I'm doing my yearly goals, I write 10 goals in each one of those areas. Not because I'm going to focus on all of those goals, but because I want my brain to go to work on those things. If there's an opportunity for it to find an opportunity for me, and pull it into my awareness because it knows that I'm looking to do that. So I write 10 in each one. Then what I do is I take those 10 and I narrow them down to the 2 most important ones to me.
So when you say 10, can I interject and stop you right there? So can you give me an idea of like these 10 categories?
Okay. 10 categories or 10 goals in each category?
I'm sorry. 10. Oh, okay. So let's back up one. Maybe I missed this part of what you were talking about. How many categories, I guess, are you setting goals in?
I'll have 8 or 9 categories. So
okay. And
physical, nutrition, health, spiritual, contribution, family and friends, my tribe, personal growth, business. That's 6 or 7, I think, right there. I can't remember what the other 2. So I take each one of those areas and I will write 10 goals in each one of those areas.
Wow, 10 goals per category.
10 goals per area. And the reason for that is I'm not going to focus on those things, but you would be amazed. And from life experience, I can tell you that I've written goals in the first part of the year that I never looked at or touched again, that at the end of the year or 3/4 of the way through the year, someone called me and said, hey, what do you think about this? And it's the exact solution to the goal that I had written a year before. Because I believe that, not getting all
physical
on you, but we're all beings of electricity. And
I agree.
When you put something out there and you tell your brain that it's important, what it's doing is its job is to try and make your life better and try and find opportunities. And the reality is our brain, the only thing that our brain is a machine that eliminates everything that's not important. So everything that goes on during the day, your brain just throws that into the garbage other than the things that it needs to survive or the things that you've told it are important for it to focus on. It's that reticular activator. Do you know what the reticular activator is, Tim?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like your unconscious mind, like clearing a pathway to, what your objective is, like subconsciously or unconsciously. It's like when you buy a red Jeep Cherokee, and down the road, all you see is red Jeep Cherokees. Your mind like naturally gravitates towards it.
And the reticular activator is such an important part of our brain. The problem with it is that it has ADD. It only holds on to something that's important as long as you keep it in front of it and tell it that it's important. So when we write our goals, that reticular activator focuses on those two in each area that are important because we keep those in front of us. And then all the rest of them are just in the background waiting for something to tickle a nerve that it goes, oh my goodness, did you just say that? And then you have an opportunity to achieve one of those other 8 goals that weren't a priority to you, but were important enough to write down.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something that you're going to believe because it's the person that you are. Literally, while we're having this conversation right now in this interview, something in the back of my brain that I wrote down weeks ago just got brought to the forefront. I just found a solution for it right now as we were talking. And that's exactly what you're talking about right now. Right
Very
now.
much so. And one of the other things too that we haven't talked about yet that is really, really important is that you need to write your goals by hand, because the physical act of writing a goal goes to a different place in your brain that's deeper in your brain than having it in your head or typing it on the computer or inputting it somewhere. You can always do those things as a secondary or a third option of as you've done your goals, but your goals should always be written pen to paper when you are writing them so that it is impactful to you. The other thing too, and this is just kind of a side note, is your goals should be complete sentences. People write cold plunge 52 times. Your brain doesn't read that as a complete sentence. 52 times in the cold plunge is a complete sentence. Your brain will read that, comprehend it, and then store it. So all of your goals should be complete sentences with numbers attached to them. So 365 sauna sessions. That's a complete
quantifiable
sentence. Your brain actually takes that in, and that's a place that people miss as well, is they don't understand how the brain takes in information, and you want to make sure you write your goals in a way that it's taking that information and going to the right place.
Okay, so man, this episode could easily go twice as long because as you're talking, I just have so many more questions. So anyways, I might have to harass you one other time. Anyways,
that's fine.
Okay, so we have these 8 categories, and in these 8 categories, we have 10 goals. And not that we're going to actively focus on all 10 of these goals, but we're putting them in our brain in complete sentences so that subconsciously, unconsciously, as our mind is continuously working, we're making a pathway available to them, whether it's known or subconscious to us. But on these top 2, you said we're going to focus on the top 2. How do you really focus on the top 2 in each category from once you have those goals?
Well, the top 2 should have numbers attached to them so that they're trackable. So in my family life, one of my top 2 goals is 52 date nights with my wife. That's how it's written, 52 date nights with my wife. I now track how many date nights I take with my wife every time we go out on a date. And I've fallen way behind. We had weeks last year where we did 3 dates a night for 3 weeks because I was like, there's no way I'm going to get to my goal unless we really hit it hard and do some date nights, because we had slacked off. But because I had a number that I was trying to achieve, I'm able to look back on my relationship with my wife and say, you know what? Because we did those date nights, we have a better relationship together. Reading 3 marriage books with my wife, 1 couples retreat with my wife, spending 20 minutes of quality time with my wife in the morning having coffee 5 days a week are all things that can be tracked. And then therefore, at the end of the year, I can say, you know what? We do have a better relationship because I was intentional about how I showed up for my wife using these things. And it applies to spiritual, it applies to every other area of your life. If there's a number attached for you to track, you can actually say, I achieved it and I'm better for it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss when they're goal writing, is that they just don't have that trackable intentionality behind their goals.
Yeah, that is great actionable advice. And anybody who's listening, rewind that last section and just literally take notes and just do what this man is saying. Please, do what this man is saying is going to make your life better. I want to shift slightly, okay? I want to talk a little bit about self-awareness, okay? And what role that we think self-awareness has in goal setting and whether or not we're in alignment with the goals that we're actioning. And I want to talk about something on the theme of, I guess, writing your goals in a yellow crayon. And what I mean is how do you think self-awareness plays a role in goal setting? Maybe we're halfway through the year and we're realizing you know what, this goal isn't actually in alignment with what I want. What do you say to that situation? How do we have awareness of that? And then what's your mantra? Like, what's your mindset on that subject?
There's two places that I want to go with that, because the first, which I think is the most important one, is being aware of your own self-limiting beliefs. Because we put ceilings on ourselves. My self-limiting belief for a long time, and I didn't even know that's what it was until I had friends who cared enough to bring it to my attention, is that I'm not worthy. I love my parents, I love my dad, but we had an estrangement when I was in my mid-20s, and a lot of my achievement and success came from the fact that I was like, I'm going to show you that I can be a good human, be a good dad, build wealth, and be a whole-rounded person, because I'm not worthy myself. And what happens when you know your own limiting belief is you're able to start addressing and countering it. My good friend Daniel Del Real, whom you know as well, he talks about in the military, they teach you, well, and you know this too from your experience, the closer you are to someone, the better your chances of being able to stop whatever it is they're doing. People run away from stuff, but the reality is when you run away, you're actually in more danger than when you're close and hand to hand. So when we know our own limiting beliefs, we now can start addressing those. And I'm a different person today, Tim, and I just fully transparent than I was 12 months ago, because when they brought that to my awareness, I knew I had to do something about it. And so I set goals with how many therapy sessions am I going to have with someone to be able to work through this. And, we all have tons of issues. But so the first part of it is, do you know your own limiting belief, which is the ceiling that you're setting for yourself? Find out what that is, and then go to work on improving that, because that raises the ceiling of what you have the potential to accomplish, and the fact that, and it helps prevent you from the self-sabotage that we all do. The question that I think you were asking about self-awareness is that, and it's one of the reasons I think why spending the time at the front end is so important, of actually writing down 10 goals, because from those 10 goals, you're going to find 2 that resonate with you, right? But for most people, they spend half an hour, and they jot down some stuff on a piece of paper. It doesn't really have any meaning to them because they haven't spent the time on it. And so for me, I've had goals that I've set that other things became more important. And when someone says they don't have time, what they're basically saying is, that's just not important enough to me for me to put the time into it. And there are going to be goals that are like that. And that's part of life. So you have to be okay with adjusting your goals and pivoting. If I'm killing it in an area of my life, and I set a goal for 300 workouts, and I've done 2-a-days for, 75 days or 90 days or 100 days, I'm going to take that 300 and I'm going to adjust that goal. Or if I get halfway through the year and I'm like, man, there is 0 chance I'm going to make my 300, what is the number that I can adjust to that stretches me, that allows me to achieve it? So it's not like once you put it in, it's written in stone. Life throws us curves, and you have to be willing to adjust, but you just can't let them be excuses and just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where that self-awareness comes into play of like, okay, what's realistic? And then having the ability to give yourself grace to continue to pick yourself up every day and continue to execute. And the longer that you continue to execute and give yourself grace in that manner, I think, back to the beginning of the episode when I asked you, well, how do we delineate between lifestyle discipline versus, like just this intangible goal. And I think that's really where the breakover starts to happen is it just when it becomes a consistent part of your personality and you have that self-awareness to amend and not just be completely devastated. I know people who will fall off their habits or their goals and they're off the wagon. Like, good luck getting them back on. And I think just that repetition of consistency and grace with that self-awareness, that's where the lifestyle, that discipline starts to take over of like, I am this person, this identity-based goal. I'm a person who plunges 52 days a year, who takes my wife on 52 dates a year. This is who I am,
And it's normal for us to fall off. I love showing people my Remarkable, because the whole month of June last year, there's 4 entries in all of my... Now, I may have done some of those things, but I wasn't tracking them. So when I counted for my year, I didn't have anything in June at all. It is as much as people say, "Oh yeah, I hit it every single day." They're full of it, because we're human and we go through these cycles of not. But at the end of the day, July, I was like, okay, I'm back on this. And I picked it up and I went through July, and then it got better and better and better. And that's the thing. It is not where, I mean, again, it's just not written in stone, because we have life that comes and throws us curves. It's how do you get back on it, make sure it's important, create habit stacking. I'm a huge fan of Atomic Habits by James Clear. And my first 6 or 8 things that are on my checklist, I have habits stacked to where I'm at home. They happen every single day, because I've created barriers for myself of I can't do this until I do this. I can't do this until I do this. And I just keep stacking to where I have this whole habit of all of these things that are important to me and my goals. And then I track them on top of that, even though they're habits.
I love that carrot on the stick that you must really like coffee. Like, I can't drink coffee until I do X, Y, Z. I love that. I use James Clear's habit tracker journal right now. And it's just like you're saying, like, when I'm looking at the data, it's like, oh, wow. Like, I think of myself as a person who says I'm going to, I think of myself as working hard every single day. But like, I'm looking at my client outreach or my, agent outreach, and it's like, damn, I didn't call an agent for a week, like at all, not one. So I guess I'm not, what am I doing during the day? Like, what the hell am I doing? And my least favorite part of all of that is actually putting it into the journal. That's had to become a habit for myself of like, okay, I need to track the information. I'm a person that just wants to get it done and forget about it, move on to the next thing. So,
and that's where that habit stacking comes into play. So my wife and I, my wife's love language is quality time and acts of service. And I made the commitment that I was going to have coffee with her every day. I don't care about coffee at all, but to her, that's like her quiet time. So I started creating the habits of, before I can have my before I even start the coffee machine, I got to drink 24 ounces of water and take my vitamins. And then I turn the coffee machine on. I do 35 push-ups. And then I get the coffee. When I go sit down, before I can take my first sip of coffee, I have to open my Remarkable and start tracking. And then I can start drinking coffee. And then once I'm done with that, I read my 10 pages of the book. And then the rest of the day is taken off. So it's not even that I really care about coffee. It's just something that I do every single day. Just like brushing your teeth. If you want a habit, just say, okay, before I can brush my teeth, because I do that every single morning, I'm going to do X. And then before you brush your teeth, you're like, can't do it until I do X. And then before too long, that just becomes part of your pattern. And then you can add other things to it.
And you can't go be the, big successful Aaron talking to clients with stink mouth, right? Like, you got to brush your teeth. So
that is the truth. Dragon breath is the killer of all sales.
Holy moly. Yes, it is. Like, carry some gum, bro. Anyways. Okay. I got one last question for you. And then I want to give you an opportunity to kind of tell people, how they can follow along. And by the way, this has been one of my absolute favorite episodes. I feel like I'm floating right now. I feel like I just did a private coaching. Like, if I was in front of you, I would give you a hug, whether you wanted one or not. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. What do you say to those people who they identify as a person that just like struggles getting going, period, right? They're just stuck in this inaction, stuck in the struggle, and they need to build that baby muscle of, they say do less before you do more. So like, people that are really fit, instead of going out and running a marathon, it's like, hey, can you stand while you watch TV for 30 minutes a day? And then that compounds to, can you walk in place? Can you jog in place? Can you go for a mile walk? So I guess when we're goal setting, this seems insurmountable to so many people. And to those individuals who have no self-confidence in setting goals, they don't believe that they're going to do what they're going to say. They have just a stack of evidence that tells them they're less than. What advice would you give to them to start in this goal setting arena and really reap the benefit of the compounding fruit that comes from it?
One is a win. You do it one time, it's a win. Don't set these unrealistic things that you're going to do, because you're not going to. So if you're not someone that exercises and you say, you know what, I'm going to exercise 12 times in 2024. That's a realistic goal that you can set for yourself, or whatever that looks like. I'm going to exercise 8 times in the month of January or February. That's an easy, achievable goal for you to tick off, to where you can start that create muscle. Because people who have a hard time getting started, it's not necessarily their fault. They're just wired to where the momentum has to be there, or someone has to give them the the kick in the pants. And once they have the kick in the pants, then they're execute and finalize. They can get those things done. So if you struggle with that create, it's the little wins. Just create little wins. Take those areas of your life, family, friends, financial, business, relationships, your tribe, which are the people you hang out with, personal growth, and spirituality and contribution. Those 7 areas, if you write those down and say, what is the one thing that I'm willing to commit to for the next 7 days in each one of these areas? And don't say you're going to do it 7 times. Just say, I'm going to do this 3 times in the next 7 days. And I'm committing to myself to do it 3 times. And then you do it. Now you've created some momentum. And at the end of 7 days, you say, what are the things that I'm going to do in these areas for the next 7 days? And then you say, okay, you know what? I can do this for a month. So instead of saying I'm going to work out 3 times a week for the next 7 days, you're going to work out 12 times in the month of March. And now you've set a monthly goal for yourself. And you say, okay, that means 3 times a week. But if you miss one day, you still have the chance to achieve the goal. So it doesn't have to be what I do or what other people do. It's just a matter of keeping it really simple, setting some commitments to yourself that are realistic and achievable and have a number attached to them. And you say, I'm going to do this X amount of times. I'm going to meditate twice this week, or whatever that looks like to you, and start creating some little wins so that you have that execute side, that momentum side to you that you can start building on. That would be my advice.
Yeah. And that is excellent advice. Aaron, you are incredible. And you've been an incredible guest. This has been an incredible interview. And I will tell you that I'll be ready for you when it's my turn to be up on that
Don't
stage.
You make promises with your mouth that your pen and your brain can't keep, man. That's all.
I promise you, I will be ready. I'm waiting for you. I'm getting prepped. I'm in the gym right now. So when that day comes, I'll be ready for you, bro. Aaron, where can people follow along with you, get in touch with you, find you?
You know, I am just really starting to do social media stuff. I have been head down in my tribe for a really, really long time, but you can find me on Instagram at the Aaron C. West, AARONC West, like the direction. And I'm starting to post more. I'm starting to post more stuff about goals, negotiating and building wealth. It's another one of my passions is how people in their relationship with money usually is very an emotional relationship. And then most people aren't even aware of what their relationship with money is. So I'm posting a lot more stuff like that, or starting to anyway. And I would love to share my journey and have you come along with me.
Yeah. And don't be bashful. You're a badass agent out in California. I mean, come on.
Yes. If you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell in the Central Valley of California, Modesto, I would love the opportunity to make you like a hero, make you look like a hero. Just reach out.
Oh, and he means that. This is a guy who does what he says he's going to do. And I've been watching some of his content. Man, this guy shows up. Like, clients feel like they win the lottery to work with this guy, just with your gift giving and your over the top service. It's been really fun to watch your journey and watch your business. So yeah, Aaron, this has been incredible. I usually end the episode by saying, hey, I hope you guys got something out of this episode, but we are not going to do that because I know all of you listeners in the Dynamis land got actionable, tangible things to grab a hold of and action right now. And there are no excuses. You got the steps, you got the strategies and tactics. Go take action, because the fruitful life that you're waiting for is right on the other side of that action. The blueprint has been made. And if you have any questions about it, reach out to both of us. DM us, find us on social media. I guarantee you we're more than willing to help you in that journey. I hope that you guys take action on this week's episode. Aaron, it's been incredible to have you. Thank you so much for coming in, and I can't wait to see you again in person. We will catch you all on the flip side. See you guys next week.